What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are here with the ending of the Ultimates comic. This is issue number 24. So, what this does is this opens up, like a lot of the other issues have before, showing us what's happening within the Ultimate Universe and this war against the Maker. The cool thing about this is that this comic is in a lot of ways standalone. It's effectively a one-shot. It's just showing us part of the battles that are going on out there. And what ends up happening? Right, because keep in mind, the Maker, right, this guy is returning in Marvel Comics. And in this Earth 6160 universe, they're doing everything they can to try to keep it protected and to try to keep it safe. And so what this does here is this picks up with Shen Qi. Now, this guy's cool. I think that's how you pronounce his name. This guy's really, really cool. So the way this works, for those of you guys who aren't really familiar with this, within Marvel Comics, as most of you guys know, you have the Iron Fist, right? Well, within this new Ultimate Universe, Earth 6160, Shen Qi was at one point the Iron Fist and was wildly powerful, studying like every martial art in existence. What ended up happening, effectively gaining the power of the gods to a degree, is that he began to basically meditate in the aftermath of a massive war and wanting nothing to do with war and conflict. So think Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and he spent 40 years meditating. What ends up going on is a kind of cult and almost religion builds around him. The gods become jealous, and this ultimately leads to a massive fight, and it leads to him essentially dying. And so for quite some time, there wasn't an Iron Fist. During that time period is when the Maker started manipulating everything, and when the Hulk ended up becoming the new Iron Fist and conquering not only Kunlun, but all the other heavenly cities as well. And so essentially the Hulk runs the entire Iron Fist mythos. But now Shen Qi's back, and has been for quite some time, basically marshaling an army to go to war against the forces of the Hulk. And that's where you get this explanation of the Hulk's forces and what they're doing here as well. Because the question's asked by his guys, what do we do, Incredible One? And he says, this trick only works on those weak of will. Where are my strongest? Where are my immortal weapons? And he's told, those remaining protect your territories outside of heaven, as you commanded. And so he asks, how are they faring? And he's told, on Monster Island, the Ultimate, called She-Hulk, continues her war against us. She has retaken much of the atoll, destroying 8 of our heavily fortified installations. This is not the same monster that we faced before. She is much worse. Now, this is an important thing to understand. This version of She-Hulk is not Jennifer Walters. This is a girl by the name of LaJory. The way this worked is she was actually an inhabitant of the Bikini Atoll, along with her family and any number of people. When the Gamma Bomb experiment was done in the Bikini Atoll, where normally it would lead to Bruce Banner becoming the Incredible Hulk, this crazy rage monster and so on, again, because of the actions of the Maker, when Banner became the Hulk, he was brought into the Maker's council, and then that's when he ended up becoming the Iron Fist and basically taking over as the leader of Children of Light, dominating the 7 heavenly cities and so on. On the island itself, which has now become known as Monster Island, it was exposed to gamma radiation by way of the Gamma Bomb and transformed because of the gamma radiation. So quite literally, it's like fighting a living island. For She-Hulk herself, she was also transformed by it all, but she also watched her parents die. And so she has a vendetta here, but because of the fact that she's native to this island, and because she's so familiar with it, the forces of the Hulk on this island are getting dominated, and she's actually more powerful here than she is anywhere else in the world, because she's basically walking around in gamma radiation. And that's exactly what the Hulk is told. She's more powerful, more focused. Her rage can only be measured in the frantic readings of distant seismographs. Many of your followers have shed their material forms and rejoined the karmic wheel at her hands. Verdant One. So literally, she's killed them. They've been shuffled from the mortal coil, and they've been sent to perdition, is basically all it is, right? But that's where the Hulk, in hearing this, says, then rejoice for them, my child, for their service. They will be reincarnated in stronger forms. How fares Crane Mother of the Bomb, which Crane Mother is a member of the Incredible Hulk's forces, and one of the leaders of the 7 heavenly cities operating under the Incredible Hulk. That all kind of ties back into Matt Fraction's Immortal Iron Fist run. If you don't know about it, not a great big huge deal. Just know she's incredibly capable, right? And she's able to go toe-to-toe with She-Hulk. But the Hulk is told the combination of Gamma and her divinity make her a match, nearly for She-Hulk. And so the Hulk just says, and the armies, the gamma-enhanced hounds, strength-sapping weapons, the trillions spent, are these making no difference? And he's told they would, yes, right, they would make a difference if she were indeed alone and by herself. But again, it's the island that you're fighting. And there's all kinds of critters out here on the island, right? There's basically Devil Dinosaur, doesn't necessarily look the exact same way, but I mean, it's a dinosaur shooting fire out of its mouth. Sure, he's not red, and Moon Girl and Moon Boy are nowhere to be seen, but the fact is, right, it's basically Devil Dinosaur, right? But it's gigantic crabs, the whole 9 yards. And the Hulk is told, in addition to reports that her teammate Wasp has joined her, it appears she's orchestrating the island itself against us. She knows it intimately, as we cannot. Its flora, its fauna, we've lost amples to flesh-hungry fish and hypnotic fields of flowers, which, imagine that. Imagine being just hypnotized into walking into a giant Venus flytrap and being dissolved alive. That sounds like a fate worse than death, to be honest with you. But the Hulk is told, we believe that Gamma has chosen her, judged her worthy, and judged her strong. So it's literally lending its power to her. The island is enhancing She-Hulk's abilities. But the Hulk just asks, and who are you to interpret the flameless fire, child? And so while there is a momentary reprieve and the forces of the Hulk are basically pushed away or just outright completely and totally obliterated, in response to all that, the Hulk says, move on. What of our other earthbound territories? And the Hulk is told, the Prince of Meltdowns holds the West Coast against the Fantastic Force insurgency. Their cosmic radiation is a remarkably effective counter to gamma radiation. The Prince has killed at least 7, but each unit is completely independent and ignorant of the other's activities. Rooting them out is slow and difficult work because lest we forget, right, Dr. Doom in this Ultimate Universe is Reed Richards, who was modified by the Maker and basically brainwashed into believing that he was Dr. Doom. Literally, he got the name Dr. Doom because the Maker screwed him up so bad, he convinced Reed that everything Reed touches dies, that he is walking, talking, and living Doom. But in an effort to basically fix or restore the Fantastic Four, making up for his past actions and what's probably the saddest one-shot ever in the history of Marvel Comics for Dr. Doom, that he basically tried to recreate the Fantastic Four. And that's what led to the Fantastic Force, whole teams that are composed of groups of 4 that basically have the powers of the Fantastic Four. It's pretty cool, right? They basically operate using guerrilla warfare tactics. Not only that, the Hulk is told the Bride of 9 Worldbreakers leads anti-terrorist efforts in the homeland, suppressing ultimate uprisings, which we believe were fomented by Fantastic Force cells operating domestically. So it's not simply just a battle physically, it's also inspiring people to turn against the ruling class. But the Hulk's also told, your territory is large, with many potential flashpoints. Resources are stretched thin. Acts of rebellion go unanswered. There's only so much we can do. We can't be everywhere at one time. So the reality here is that it's a war of attrition. There's so many forces working against you, so many shots being fired, that even if you plug this hole, another is going to open up, and another, and another, and another. In reality, it's only a matter of time before you lose. You're buying time at best. Now, none of them would outright say that to Hulk. The guy would beat him to death, but that's really what they're beating around. That's the point that they're effectively making here. And so in that moment, the Hulk is notified that there are forces at their door, and they are there to greet them. And when he shows up, it's Shen-Ki and his entire army. And this has been a battle long in coming, right? The original Iron Fist, who died and has now been reincarnated, and Ultimate Hulk, who has the current Iron Fist powers. And so Shen just tells him, Bruce Banner, you have murdered or imprisoned millions in heaven and on earth without recourse to justice to serve your own brutal agenda. You have twisted the ancient teachings and so led mankind further away from enlightenment. You have perverted the path to peace. The people of Kunlun speak with one harmonious voice. I am merely their messenger. Your brief reign in heaven is ended, so go. Immediately, literally tries to run him out of there, right? Tries to get him out of there as fast as he can, right? And Hulk ultimately rejects it, right? A Jedi mind trick is really what you're trying here. Good luck, right? Parlor tricks, right? Did you really think that would work on me? right? Not a chance. That was never going to work on me, right? But the response of Shin, no, but at least I thought it was worth a try, right? It may have been successful, I don't know. But the funny thing is that in this fight, the Hulk says children. They send children against me. I whose strength toppled gods. I who slayed Shu Lao, the Undying, who plunged my hands into the great dragon's chest and tore out his celestial heart, who felt creation thrum through my fingers. You would dare step here and challenge me? And the response of Shin, yes, and immediately shuts down the Hulk. And he tells him, right, I remember all of my past lives, collectively, thousands of years of training, of study, and of meditation. I have mastered every technique, invented some of the styles that you are using right now. You have led my people to spiritual ruin. You stole my destiny, and although I have renounced fighting and violence, and quite literally, although violence is not always the answer, it is an answer, and it's usually an effective one because he tells him, I will make one exception for you, and plunges his hand into the chest of Hulk and rips out the powers of the Iron Fist. He literally depowers Hulk. Right now, the Hulk still has all of his traditional abilities, right? Incredible strength, durability, all that kind of stuff. But at the very least, he doesn't have the powers of the Iron Fist. So he's not nearly as indestructible as he was before, but he still can be destroyed. And that's a funny thing, is Shin says, do you see? You are the great dragon I was destined to slay. It was you all along. Your heart, Shu Lao's heart, is mine, and I am the immortal Iron Fist. And at that point, he dominates the Hulk. It's not long lasting, right? It's like a panel or two, but he dominates this guy. Not only that, Danny Rand, right, who is a student of Shin, right, learning to become the Iron Fist in his own right, is watching all of this unfold and actually activates a teleportation portal, right? And Shin says, submit and you will be shown mercy. And the response of Hulk, mercy? Me, right? I'm the strongest being in heaven, hell, or earth. If I cannot rule in heaven, then I'll destroy it. I'll obliterate it all. And the response of Shin, I believe you would, which is why you are no longer welcome here. Do not return. And he banishes the Hulk from heaven, literally kicks the Hulk out of heaven and sends this guy flying to Monster Island. And that's where a fight ensues between Hulk and She-Hulk. Now, they fought once before, but because of the fact that the whole thing was a booby trap, it was a fight of desperation to a degree, but it wasn't really a one-on-one. I mean, it was, but it was like the forces of the Hulk who were also attacking the other members of the Ultimates. What we get here is a knockdown drag-out between the two, and that's where She-Hulk just says, welcome to Monster Island, Banner. It will be your grave. And the response of Hulk, good luck, right? Good luck. And this guy preps for a fight and he says, show me your rage, right? And she just says, death to tyrants. But the Hulk makes quick work out of her, right? You're way too slow. You're cumbersome, right? You're a broadsword, just swiping away at whatever happens to be in your path. There's no finesse, no nuance. And this is why you will not win. Literally takes out Devil Dinosaur, right? Just takes this guy out in an instant. And literally he just starts taking out all the forces of She-Hulk bit by bit. And piece by piece, he rips out a dinosaur's tongue when Wasp grows to her giant form and tries to step on him. He literally diverts her. He destroys all the giant crab creatures, the whole 9 yards. He's tearing apart Monster Island piece by piece. And the whole time, he's just going over this insane monologue, right? You wish to tear down all that I have built with my own 2 hands, and you call me a tyrant. I am no Henry Duggery. When I conquered my enemy's paradise, I did not foul it. I perfected it, as I am perfecting my piece of the world. Tyrant? I am a modernizer. I slay the dragons of the superstitious old world. I modernize the celestial bureaucracy. I strengthen heaven's existing caste system and created her first professional police force. I have delivered to my subjects a perfectly ordered existence, security, sense. I have brought structure and order to a non-structured and disordered world. But her response, you are no great man. You are a monster, a tyrant, and a weakling pretending to be a great man. You kill and control the people because you fear the people. And he asks, fear? right? Billions worship me as a living God. 1/6 of the world's population is under my direct or indirect command. My power does not descend from the people. The people's power, what little I allow them, descends from me. I am the breaker of this world, and I will sink this island and end you all with one single blow. And the reality here is he's so full of shit, it's coming out of his eyes. Like when you're talking about a person like this, a dictator, a warlord, the more power they take for themselves and the more control they exert over their people, it establishes one fundamental principle, which was put perfectly by Vegeta in Dragon Ball when he was talking to Goku in that amazing dream sequence. In that amazing dream sequence on Namek, the one thing that every tyrant fears is that someone will rise up and destroy them. That's the one thing they fear the most. And that was always the motivation of Hulk, the fear that somebody would rise up and destroy him. And so in the grand display of making a better world, quote unquote, he was just exercising control over people out of fear. She-Hulk nailed it perfectly in her analysis of him. And so in the midst of all of this, the Hulk is suddenly just besieged by ants coming out of nowhere. They literally just flood this guy, and it's absolutely bonkers, only for us to find out Hank Pym's shown up here. Right now, Hank Pym and Janet did have a falling out, because it turned out that Janet, earlier in the Ultimates line, was actually a spy for the forces of the Maker. She's since turncoated, right, gone back to being a good guy and working alongside the Ultimates, but when Hank found out about it, it was like he was gonna leave her. He was gonna walk away. Of course, because she's his wife, he chooses not to and chooses to come back, especially in seeing that she's trying to make up for her past misdeeds. But the point is, it buys them only moments, because these are ants, right, against the Hulk. Yeah, they never really stood much of a chance in the first place, despite the fact that they're giant radioactive ants. So he literally just sends them all flying out of the way and just says, insects, all of you are insects. As a boy, I spent summers burning ants under a magnifying glass. This will be almost nostalgic. And so She-Hulk shows up here and says, the past is rarely how we remember it, which is true. Right? Just because you remember things being a certain way doesn't mean they were that way. It just means you remember it being that way. But people tend to treat memories as an absolute truth. And that's the point that she makes here. It's not, right? This is all a game to you, and it's all a joke. Our suffering and our pain. And the response of Hulk, no. It's not a game. It's a project, right? You're really just kind of a science lab to me. And I just like watching you squirm, right? And he says, control your emotions, girl. What right do you have to be angry anyway? Right? And she asks, like, what right? Right? What do you mean, what right? And the response of the Hulk, the Gamma gives as it takes. What was lost? A life of total insignificance, of weakness before the waves washed you away? You should be grateful. I transformed you, improved you, made you strong. Gamma made you great. I am the one who made you great. Your generation is so entitled. We've been here before, haven't we? Deja vu, because he's sitting there holding her by the head, right? Getting ready to kill this girl on the spot. And he says, this time we finish what we started, just the two of us, right? And her response, no, I am never alone. And she literally just charges up. She-Hulk goes, for lack of a better word, Super Saiyan, right? It says, how long you studied us and how little you understand. Men like you have no relationship to the land. For you, it is only something more to possess, a commodity, like a television or a chair. For us, it is a living thing. For us, it's family, as near to us as our own heart. Rip it out, and it returns to us, which is exactly what she does. She literally plunges her hand into the chest of the Hulk and rips his heart out. And then, in this just like berserker rage, starts beating this guy to death. For a brief moment, she goes into her most fundamental savage form and just starts demolishing this guy, like literally tearing him apart piece by piece. And at that point, Janet approaches her, right, as one of her closest friends and says, he's dead. Stop. You can calm down now. And she kind of returns to herself. But in the midst of all of this, the SOS from the Ultimates, right, Tony Stark and all those guys who are dealing with the Dome out in Latveria, where the main fight's happening with the Maker, they say, attention, all Ultimates, this is Iron Lad, broadcasting from the city. The Dome is down. I repeat, The city is open, and the Maker has returned. With that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like. If you feel like the entire Ultimate Universe feels rushed, that's because it is. And honestly, it's a shame. It's like the Fall of X all over again, right? Just what could have been something great, ending with nothing more than a whimper. But I will catch you all later. Peace.